Hey, in a world of transformational change that's occurring right now in the lives of women worldwide, that women are in fear, they're being what's going to happen in their life, and women who are succeeding and what's happening in their lives. The question is, who is in charge of your success? Who is in charge of living a life of dreams, of the success that you want, and the life that you want to have? This is Sales Tuesday, and this is a day where you decide who is in charge of your success. Get ready because I'm on fire.
We're bold, brave, seen, heard. We're paid well, bold, brave, seen, heard. We're power women.
I'm a power woman. Bold and brave and well paid. Woman. I've seen and heard a great leader. Woman. We're experts and leaders expanding together as woman. Connecting and growing, we're powerful.
I'm so excited because I want to really talk about who's in charge of your success. You know, in the news lately, it seems like the message is that women's freedom and women's potential can be taken away. But I will say this, appearances can be deceiving. You know, there is three freedoms that everybody has, no matter what their situation. And it's critically important that in sales, which we're talking about on Tuesdays, you understand how you might be holding yourself back, how you might be perceiving that people are holding you back from the successes that you want to have, the sales that you want to have, and the opportunities that you want to have. In the world today, that is the same thing. It's a perception that you can be held back. But if you knew the three freedoms and exercise those three freedoms, you can experience the success and the freedom. How do I know this? Because I know what my family members have gone through. I know what the history shows of women who chose to think differently, women who chose to act differently, women who chose to determine their own successes. This goes the same in sales. How often I know for myself that I have missed opportunities, not because those opportunities were there, but because of how I exercised my freedoms, or maybe more importantly, how I didn't exercise those freedoms. So, what are those freedoms? There are three: the freedom of thought, the freedom of personal action, and the freedom of self-determination. So let me begin to share with you what and how this looks. You know, when you embrace your three freedoms, your success and your sales success depends on how you exercise these freedoms. Let's go through what those are. The first is freedom of thought. Let's be clear about something. Freedom of thought is critically important because what you think is what you get. By the way, my name is Pegine and I lead Power Women Worldwide. And this particular moment is for my Power Women Elites, and you can also get it on YouTube. So just wanted to share. I'm in the Motivational Speakers Hall of Fame, the top ranking Hispanic speaker. I've run $1 million business and continue to serve the world to make sure that women are bold, brave, seen, and heard. So let's go back to freedom of thought. Freedom of thought is the awareness, the clarity, the total knowledge that what you think is what you get, that how you think is yours. Nobody could change your thoughts unless you decide that that's good. Many, many years ago, I lived an interesting, challenged life. I was in a gang. I had, came from a very dysfunctional, messed up kind of family, with lots of love, but not lots of healthy ways of looking at the world. So that impacted my own self confidence. That impacted my own self awareness. That impacted how I say that affected not because they were responsible, but I was responsible for how I was thinking about the situations. When I was about 23, I had already left the gang, and I had left and I had opened three businesses in Spain. I had sold them and returned back to the States. And I was really unsure about what I was doing with my life. I had started as a receptionist for a major corporation, and through trial and error, I became a salesperson. Well, as a salesperson, you face a lot of rejection. You're going out there and you're doing it, and I would be mentored by some really successful salespeople, but I did not feel as confident as they exuded. I didn't even know what that was. And one day I was doing a sales call, and I was in Seneca Falls, New York, and my client wasn't there yet. So I went to the museum of the Seneca Falls Women's History Museum. And when I went into that, they had a whole bunch of like quotes, quotes in frames and quotes printed on like a muslin piece of material. And there was one quote that really got me. The quote was, "No one can make you feel inferior without your consent." I had to read that again. No one can make you feel inferior without your consent. Let me tell you clearly, that quote pissed me off because I can prove how people were making me feel inferior. I can show the world how people were making me inferior. And in truth, that was how I felt. I felt that was really true. The quote is by Eleanor Roosevelt, and I immediately bought that little Muslim piece of material that had the quote. And I went back to the city, and I took that quote and I stuck it on the wall in front of me, mainly because I knew that there was something about that quote that I wasn't getting. There was something about the way that quote was being delivered that I just, like, I had a block. I couldn't see it. I couldn't understand it. I did not know what the intention was. I had no clue. And then, about 6 or 7 months later, I looked at that quote and went, oh, no one can make me feel inferior without my consent, meaning I'm the one that's thinking that way. I'm the one that's going to make sure that I'm the one that feels inferior. I'm the one that gave myself that 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 message. I'm the one that felt inferior. It was at that moment I really understood a book that I had been reading forever, which was Think and Grow Rich. I suddenly understood in that moment that I have the freedom to think about whatever I choose to think about. That I have the freedom to think about myself in any shape or form. And I'm not going to say that overnight, blah, blah, I changed my attitude, my point of view, my thoughts. It's taken a lot of practice, a lot of work to be able to give myself permission to think the thoughts that I want to think bold and brave thoughts, to think thoughts that I'm a success and I'm awesome and I'm great. And I have spent a lot of time focused on understanding the thoughts that I want to think, not the thoughts that other people want me to think, not the thoughts that the universe or that society wants me to think, the thoughts that I want to think about myself, the thoughts that I choose. So freedom of thought is so critically important for women to embrace. Every woman, no matter what her situation, no matter where she is, no matter what is happening, I don't care where you are, you all have freedom of thought. You can think the thoughts that you want to think, no matter what anybody is trying to tell you, no matter what trauma or situation or anything, you all have a freedom to think the thoughts that you want to think. And I'm really obviously passionate about this because I know that your freedom of thought, your freedom of choice to think the thoughts that you want to think is life transformational. It's the difference between closing a sale and not closing a sale. It's the difference between feeling successful and awesome and not feeling successful or awesome. It's the difference between you thriving in business or not, or you thriving in your relationships, thriving in a marriage, thriving in your partnerships, thriving in your life or not. And this is critically important. So you have the freedom of thought. The second thing that you have is the freedom of personal action. Now, the freedom of personal action is your personal decision of how you are going to act in all situations. Who do you choose to be? How do you choose to be? How do you choose to be seen? So, when you are talking about freedom of personal action, it's about you personally deciding how are you going to show up the world no matter what the situation. Do you choose to show up in the world with a sense of strength and honor and dignity and valor and a sense of knowing that what you stand for, what's your, I tell the women, what's your pole in the ground? How do you choose to stand no matter what? And so that when you decide about your personal action, it is a no matter what scenario for you. So if you're looking to succeed in sales, if you're looking to succeed in your business, you decide some certain no matter what concepts for yourself. In other words, so no matter what, you're going to make your calls if that's what you have determined. No matter what, you're going to do a video a day. No matter what, you're going to do a video a week. No matter what are you deciding about your personal action? Because it's your freedom. You don't have to do it. Nobody's making you do it. Nobody's making you not do it. But it is up to you to decide what you want to do with your personal action. You don't like where you live, you can leave. You don't like the situation you're in, you can leave. You don't like how things are going for you, you can make changes. It is your personal action, your freedom of action, your freedom to take action for your personal self. It also means that you have the freedom to put boundaries around yourself and your relations. What are you willing to tolerate? You don't have to. What are you willing to say no to? Because you can. What are you willing to accept? Because it's your choice. All of that is your freedom of action, of personal action. It's how you do what you do. I'm so grateful that my mom found for herself when she was married to my dad, and he was an alcoholic and he was hitting her. And here's a woman that had gone to college, that had big dreams, that had achieved some of that success. And then when she got married to this person, those were all taken away from her, or she perceived it was. She had given up her own freedom of personal action until she came to her own awareness that she had freedom of thought to think about the things that though she wanted to think of who she was, and freedom of personal action. And that personal action for her was the decision of we are done. You are out of here. I'm divorced. I got my power. It's not happening. We have moved on. And that was freedom of personal action. For me, personal action means if I determine this is what I want to earn this month, this is the amount of sales that I want to receive this month, then it is up to me to take personal action so that I can have the success that I choose to have. I think it's really important that we recognize that we have freedom of personal action. We have freedom to decide what we do or what we don't do. And we get to be responsible then for the results. If you don't take personal action for your success, if you don't make the phone calls, if you don't do the outreach, if you don't do the investment in your own mental health, your own wellness, then the it's not them doing it to you, it's you doing it to you. I love this thing of, you know, if you look at pointing out and you say, well, you did this to me, or they did it to me, or this is created for me, and this is, you got to look. There are three fingers pointing back at you, because personal action, the freedom of personal action says you can point all you want, but hey, it's pointing back at you. It's pointing back at you, and you get to decide how and what you do. I love the worldwide individuals, people who have left very horrible situations in their country, and through sheer personal action, determination, they forged ahead and found ways to get where a place, a safe place where they can be, a safe place where they can feel free. And I had to tell you, that takes a huge dose of personal action. Well, if they can do that, can't you pick up the phone and make phone calls? We know that people have had some major struggles and they can do that, then I think that it's really behooves you as a strong, confident, successful, or that you're desiring of that woman to be able to pick up the calls, to be able to pitch yourself, to be able to do what you need to do to have the life that you choose to have. That is freedom of personal action. The next one is freedom of self-determination. Now, freedom of self-determination can feel like you can get lost when you think about freedom of self-determination, because it is a huge decision that you decide that you're going to determine your life. You're going to determine your success. You're going to determine the quality of life that you want to have. And with that comes tremendous responsibility, tremendous power, and tremendous sense of, confidence. And so when we talk about freedom of self-determination, when I talk about it, it is a really powerful tool for you to realize you have the freedom to determine your life. You have the freedom to determine your life by the choices that you make. The choices that you make by who you marry, where you show up, how you participate, how you dress, how you speak, that you determine what groups you want to belong to. You want to determine where you're going and how you're doing. And I have to tell you that whether or not you think you have self-determination, you do, because the situation you're in right now was determined by you. The situation you are in right now was determined by you, by the choices you made in the past, by the choices you even made 5 minutes ago. And so you don't like what you have, determine what you want. Really focus on what you want. Really focus on where you're going. Really focus on how you want to do it. Let me tell you, when I started my business when now we're going on 30 years, I was in a great job, was making great money, was doing great things, and I loved what I did. I really did. I loved what I did. But inside of me was this pull to go out on my own. It was almost like I was being strangled by what I was doing, which like I said, I loved it, but I was being strangled. I knew that I was determined to do something else. And I really needed to come up for breath. I needed to live. I needed this. So I handed my resignation about 3 months before my date. I wanted to give them more than enough time to find somebody. And when I did leave, I was scared. I didn't know what I was doing. Literally by April 1st, 1996, I was on my hand and knees at 10 o'clock in the morning, crying my eyes out, wondering what had I done? How did I find myself in this position? And that sense of, you're in this position came to me, this kind of message to me. You're in this position because you chose to be in this position, because you wanted to live your life fully, because you wanted to do this, because you wanted to run a business, because you wanted to make things happen. This was really important to you. And so that sense of self-determination was critically important. And I really want you to know that you can determine where you're going. And if you're watching this, you can share comments, you could share a message. Happy to chat with you. But these are the three things that are critically important: freedom of thought, freedom of personal action, and freedom of self determination. It is critically important that you understand you have this power. You know, you will really want to know that you must take ownership. So you have the successes and the dreams you want to have in your life. It is all out of your decision, your freedoms that allow you to create a life, a successful sales life, totally by how you choose to master your freedoms. That's where the power lies. I want to invite you all to come to the Power Women Gathering that's happening October 20th to the 22nd. Yeah. You go to Power Women Gathering. It's where women, experts, speakers, authorities, coaches, people who want to sell more, do more, have more, be bold, be brave, be seen and heard. These women are coming together to grow their businesses, grow themselves, communicate with women who choose to be powerful, who choose to have power, who choose to be determined, who they choose to be, how they choose to be, and when they choose to be. I look forward to seeing you then. My name is Pegine. I'll see you soon. Take care, everybody.